Morning, everybody, and welcome from a rainy and dreary Indianapolis. But that's okay. I got lots of cool things to talk to you about today. And like always, I'm going to be talking about what you guys want to learn about. This is all going to be about questions that you guys sent in today. I've crafted kind of like the episode around it. So I guess I tell you who I am. I'm Kenny Brown, and this is Cars and Coffee. And if you're a car guy and want to learn more about cars, real information, not all the BS that floats around the internet, you're in the right place. Because today what we're going to talk about is, what do you think? Is DOT4 brake fluid good enough for track days? And then we've got the kind of a dilemma with the IRS Cobras in the back. Is it bump steer or rear steer? And let's see what else. Oh, we've got some more cool questions. Do you know what a difference is between a limited slip and a torque sensing differential like Torsen? Well, you're going to find out here in a little bit. So if you're just joining us, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Cars and Coffee, and I've been watching a lot of Formula One stuff on YouTube at night. And what I've learned is hit that button, smash the subscribe, and ring the bell. You can tell I've been listening to other YouTube things, but I always watch the Formula One stuff on YouTube at night. So Facebook, you can start a watch party with your friends and share. So I got all that stuff in early on. So let's see what we have today. Okay, we're going to start with Hristofor. Hristofor is an interesting guy. He is Speed Therapy Academy alumni, and he's in Bulgaria. And he, when we're doing the academy, he will get up at 2 o'clock every morning to attend the academy. So he's a pretty cool guy, and the academy has helped him out immensely, improving his driving in car. But he has a question. He said, I have a question. My S550 rear brake dust boots are cracked and it's looking like there's no other option but to replace the calipers. Any suggestions on how to prevent this from happening again? Okay, I'm guessing that the dust boots are cracking from heat from the brakes. That's not necessarily uncommon. In fact, a lot of our people that run like regular high performance street brakes and on track do a lot of track days, they actually just completely burn those little rubber boots off. And you look down there, all you see these little tiny fringe of rubber that's still in the caliper. I mean, it's not a problem because race brakes don't come with dust boots. For that very reason, they don't last unless you've got some special, high temperature dust boots. But otherwise, the thing to do is, I wouldn't worry about it. I would just get some brake clean and periodically just, spray them out and keep them clean. If the dust boots are cracked and not working as good, then you need to take over that role, and you can do it with some brake clean. Just hose out around the calipers, around the pistons and the caliper, and or you can get new brakes. But then if the heat is doing it, you're going to burn up the boots again. Because I don't know that you can actually get dust boots separate from a Ford caliper. So that's like anybody. If you've got regular brakes, you burn off your front dust boots, don't worry about it. Just use brake clean. Keep them clean, because the whole idea of the dust boots is to keep dust and sand and all that stuff out. So if you keep cleaning it, then you don't have a problem. Okay, Dale, this is a really good question because I mentioned a Windsor before. Dale wanted to know about a Windsor swap in an S197. I think it's a cool thing. I've been working with one of our customers, David, out in California, who is doing that exact same thing. He's building, I think it's 2013 Mustang S197 into an awesome AIX car. And, part of the thing is you wanted to do something different. So I had Wagner Race Engines up in Wisconsin build an all aluminum 351 stroke to 408. Still have that asthma thing. And it makes like 650 horsepower and an ungodly amount of torque, like almost 600 pounds of torque. it's going to be a real monster. Now he ran into some issues. Unique. There's a lot of like headers that you can put on the 351 in 197, and we tried what was out there and didn't work. And the reason it didn't work because it's dry sump. Okay, there's no oil pan. We dropped the motor way down, and because it's a from scratch build, pushed the motor all the way back, which really kind of limited the real estate for headers. But let me show you. Actually, I sent him a note and he sent me some pictures. So I thought I would share some of these pictures. Okay, there you can see, I mean, it's hard to see, but there's not a lot of space. When you put the motor down and back, you're losing space for headers. And that's actually the dry sump down there, I think. But you can see how tight it is. Okay, got another picture. Okay, that's what it looks like from the top. You can see that he's doing an incredibly good job. You can see how low and how far back that engine sits. I mean, it is. This is the front of the motor right here, and that's the shock tower brace. You can see just how far back the motor sits and how low it is. And he said if you're interested in doing that and want to talk to him, he'd be happy to talk to you about what he did. So I think this is going to be a wicked awesome car. He's by the way, he's got the full Kenny Brown AGS 4.5 suspension system, along with, you can see the canister for the shocks. He's got the Motorsport 11 shocks. So this is going to be a wicked fast car. Okay, I think I got one from the bottom too. Okay, you can see there's the dry sump. We went with the daily dry sump. I did a lot of research, and the daily, blow it up a little bit, and the daily dry sump, hands down, is the best dry sump system out there. But you can see that he had these headers were custom made, and whoever made them did a really good job. So, can you put a Windsor in an S197? Yeah, I mean, when you just drop the engine, nothing on it, just drop the long block in there, it looks lost in a 197. There's so much room. But when you put the engine down and all the way back, then all of a sudden you start running out of real estate for exhaust and other things, and everything has to be custom made. Motor mounts, headers. Well, there are some headers out there that I think will work if the engine's in a standard location. But if you start doing race car stuff and move it around, then things kind of change a little bit. Okay, who's up next? Gosh, it's darn asthma. I was doing really good on asthma, and then it started raining. That just sets me off. Okay, Rob Kemp. Okay, my next question is rear bumps here on IRS, toe in or toe out, static settings. What is the desired dynamic toe? Preferably in inches, not degrees. That's the first part of the question. Okay, that's an interesting question. What I found a long time ago in doing the geometry on the IRS cars, and I found it out at Road Atlanta when we were testing with Ford Racing and doing a media event for the FR 500, which was an SN95 with the double wishbone in the front and IRS in the back. But that Road Atlanta, at the other end, there's two right-hand turns, and on the second right-hand turn, every time I got to the same spot in the track, the back would just get loose. And it did the same thing going under the bridge. So I went back, and we had worked really hard to get like the camber and all that stuff and roll centers where I wanted them. I really didn't take the time to look at the steering in the back. So when I started running some some analysis through the computer, I found out that when the body got to a certain degree of roll, I don't remember what it is, it was a long time ago, both rear wheels turned the wrong way. So that's what made the car loose, is as we got to roll, both rear wheels were steering the wrong way. So we went to work and came up with some solutions. We have something called a rear steer kit, which actually looks like that. It's a tie rod. We change out the tie rod, and the inner point we move all the way down to the bottom, as you can see that. And we use the existing tie rod end. Now, since we've done that, I've seen other people come out with bump steer kits in which they do the same thing they do on the front. They put a pin in the in the spindle and then a rod end. Well, there's a lot of work to try to figure out how to get where you want to be. So it's kind of like I do one thing and people copy it, but they do it kind of don't understand it. And because to me, bump steer in my mind is the front. When the car is turning and you hit a bump, that movement makes the wheels kind of steer different. That's why we take bump steer out of the front. So when you turn and hit a bump, wheels keep going the right way. So, to me, bump steer is bump when steering. In the back, it's roll steer. And that's what we created this kit. Now, when we do the full geometry upgrade on the carrier, we move this inner point down even more. This takes a lot of the roll steer out, but when we do the geometry upgrade, we pretty much take all of it out. And this is all part of, I guess it's kind of like our show and tell this morning, all part of our phase 1 traction kit for IRS cars. And what that includes the rear steer kit. And you can see this is really good quality stuff, high grade rod ends. We never ever use cheap rod ends. Everything we do is premium rod ends. And then there's the forward torque brace for the differential. This replaces the hollow tube, bent hollow tube forward brace on the differential. And this is rock solid. I mean, that's not moving at all. I mean, it is, you can see it's a pretty heavy duty built piece. And then the other part is our aluminum diff bushings. I use aluminum for a number of reasons. One, I can put all these thin, thick washers on there, which makes it kind of like a heat sink. And then also by doing this, we can actually move the pinion angle up instead of it being in the middle. The differential sits on this, actually moves the pinion angle up. And we found back a long time ago that really helps. I can't remember what year Cobra, they had some driveline vibration issues, not all of them, just some of them. And we had a customer from, I think down in Kentucky maybe, that had been to his dealership multiple times for driveline vibration. They replaced this, that, drive shaft, all that stuff. And he came to us, and all we did was put these in. Of course, you put the whole kit in, but we put the pinion angle up, and his vibration went away. So this is a really nice start for if you get an IRS and you want to start improving it. We call it the phase 1 traction kit because it actually does help traction, help grip in the back. So, okay, I guess that's my show and tell for the day. Oh, you guys can remember, you can send, if you got questions, send them in through your little typing thing through the comments. And what in the world is all this stuff over here? I don't know. I got a bunch of things coming up that I don't know anything about.
Hey, Kenny.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing what you're saying, but StreamYard is having difficulty streaming directly to Speed Therapy Society. I'm trying to work on that. So that's maybe what you're saying.
Because I got a little box over here.
Yeah, don't just ignore it.
It automatically streams, and there's a little button at the bottom that says go live.
Yeah, just you can click go live, but I'm dealing with it on my end. So
yeah, you can just click on the screen, it'll go away.
That won't go away.
Click somewhere else on the screen.
Went away. Okay. Where was I? Oh, we were talking about the show and tell, the phase 1 traction kit. Just to continue on that theme, phase 2 for our IRS package is the tubular rear lower control arms with the coilover shock conversion, either single or double adjustable. Phase 3 would add the tubular upper control arms, which are less than half the weight of the factory. And phase 4 is we take the whole carrier, cut all the pickup points off, weld them back on, cut the big ugly mount off the back, and weld on a bracket that's a direct mount to the frame rail. So we're if you're looking for help with an IRS Cobra, we're the only people. You get right down to it because we've been doing it for a long time. Okay, so let's go. Let's see. That was okay. Dylan, how hard is it to convert? We're still in the IRS theme. How hard is it to convert the 99 IRS to a 31 spline? Can you swap out the differential and carrier for a 31 spline and change axles, or is it more involved? Nope, just that simple. All you got to do is you got a 31 spline differential and 31 spline axles, put it together. Everything else is the same. So it's pretty easy peasy. The second half of this question, also I was wondering what's your preferred style of LSD is, what your preferred style of LSD is, and what do you think of the Eaton Truetrac differentials? Well, I got a good answer for you. But let's look at some differentials. Okay, this is a typical Posi-Traction differential. It goes from having an open differential, which is just the pinion gears and nothing to transfer the torque. And that's, a lot of the older cars just had open differentials. And you can tell an open differential is, you pop the clutch and put your foot down and you only have one black stripe. That's an open differential. And Posi-Traction is where they use a series of clutches. These would be the clutch plates in a package so that the torque that comes through the pinion gear gets distributed to both of the axles, which is, really good. It's good for street cars, not so good for performance cars. And the reason is at some point, if you got a lot of power and drive hard, you're going to burn those clutch discs up. And I know because back in the Celine days, that's what we had to run. We had to run a stock differential. And so what we did to kind of improve them the best we could so it last 24 hours is we took in you have to kind of like twist these gears in, a little path for them to twist in. And what we did is we would polish the daylights out of it so it's super slick, super smooth. And I put some oil on it, add one extra clutch disc per side. And I'd have Rex with about a 4-foot bar on the axle. And we would force these gears in with an extra plate. And then we wouldn't run any friction modifier. And we could get them to last a long time. Of course, the downside to that is when you pull back into the pits and driving through the pits, you hear this clunk, 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 clunk. And everybody thinks your rear end's broken. But the weird thing, as soon as you get on track and start going fast, the clunk goes away. So, that was the old days. That's still good for street cars. But my preference is a Torsen. Now, what a Torsen is there's no clutches. It's just all worm gears. Worm gears and spur gears. And the whole concept of the Torsen is that through the gears, they will take the torque of the engine and it will direct it to the tire that has the most traction. Okay. Unlike the Posi-Traction, sometimes it directs the power to the tire with the least traction. The Torsen directs the power to the tire that has the most traction, which makes it really cool. Amazingly good, and any IRS should be running a Torsen, absolutely, or Torsen type. And here's another picture that shows the worm gears and the spur gears and how they kind of all spin around and work together. Now the question was for a TruTrac. This is Eaton Truetrac, and as you can see, it's the same principle as a Torsen. You've got worm gears and spur gears. The difference is it's a little less complicated. There's fewer gears, but it does the same thing. And just as kind of an FYI when we have Strange Engineering build our 9-inch road race rear ends for S197s, we use a TruTrac differential in that. So if you can get a TruTrac for your 31 spline TruTrac, it's fine, absolutely fine. It'll work great. Okay, who we have next? Omar. Hello, Kenny. Even though I don't watch your show, I always watch on YouTube. Thank you. I'm slowly, surely been building my car like you would. Yeah. This is kind of a I'm gonna have a disappointing answer for you. Building your car like you would. If you can show some of your design for your SLA suspension, I'll be interested in purchasing it. I hope that the price is not that expensive as some of the other designs out there. It's something, it's not ready for the public yet. We're probably 6 months away or more, but it's a project I started a long time ago, and it's pretty cool. Now the guys in the Speed Therapy Academy, actually last Thursday night, we kind of went through the SLA and the geometry that goes with it. It's pretty impressive. But I won't be able to show you anything for at least 6 months to the general public, but it is in line for the next major product. So we'll just have to stay in touch yeah. So you have the second half of the question. Also, your thoughts on pushrod or cantilever suspensions. Okay, well, I can do that. I can answer that question for you. Okay, this is what he's talking about, pushrod, pull rod. Now, they are predominantly on open wheel cars, and the reason is to get the springs and shocks out of the airstream. I'm sorry. And the push rod, as the wheel goes up, it pushes on a cantilever and compresses the shock. On a pull rod, as the wheel goes up, it pulls on the cantilever and compresses the shock. Now, open wheel cars, typically the front is always a push rod, and the rear is typically a pull rod. As far as putting them on a sedan, unless you're building kind of like a fancy show car, I really don't see the need for it, unless you're using the bracket to. I'm trying to say, you can engineer it so that the bell crank that you're using actually would be a rising rate, which means it would be, if this goes up an inch, that'll go down 1.5 inches. If it goes up 3 inches. You can do a rising rate on that. That's kind of getting into some serious race car engineering. But for I've seen a lot of cars and magazines that have these fancy suspensions, and they look cool. As far as their level of effectiveness, I mean, it's to me, why would you do it? But other than it's cool and it looks cool. Now you talk about cantilever. I think this is about as much as I can figure out. You're talking about a cantilever, because this is actually kind of like an extended version of a push rod. It kind of goes out, and something like this, that's actually looks like the ratio might be a rising rate. Not sure what kind of car it is, but I just found that, and I thought that might be what you're looking at. I mean, the cantilever is nothing more than a version of the push rod. So, I mean, it's a great system. If you're engineering like an open wheel race car, you have to do that. There's no other way around it. If you're doing like a regular street car, track car, I think you'd be better off focusing effort and resources on other things that are more important. So that's my thoughts on that. And if you want to talk more about that, and remember, you can sign up for one of my 15-minute consults. Anybody on here or anybody out there, you got a question, need some help with planning your car, how to make it work better, just sign up for one of my 15 minutes. The people that have done it are just blown away. They have access to me. And that way you're going to get real answers. You're not going to get what somebody said, on the internet. Okay, now we're down to Dan Gramza. Let's see, what's the most amount of support brake pad temp you would run with DOT4 brake fluid? Asking for a friend with a 218 Mustang GT. Well, Dan, I didn't know. And so I did some research, and what I found is the dry boiling point on a DOT4 fluid is 230 degrees centigrade, which equals 446 Fahrenheit. And that is not enough for a track day car. That'd be fine for the street. That worked fine for the street, even hard stops. But when you're on track and your brake temperatures go way up, it's going to fail. What we use, we just switched to this about a year ago because I think it's the best out there, and it costs less than some of the others. Is the Baer brake fluid. The thing about the Baer brake fluid, it's got a dry boiling point of 608 degrees. And that is the other one we have used is Motul, excellent brake fluid. That goes to I think 590 something. This goes over 600, and it's less expensive. So there's nothing wrong with a great product. It's actually was specially formulated in the UK as a competitor to the Castrol, the SFR, or whatever that is. So that's what we switched to. And if you go on track, this is what you really need. You need high temperature brake fluid so you don't lose your brakes and use the wall to slow the car down. Okay, let's see. Now the rest of it is, now I have a cantilevered front grip kit. You're going to love it. Car's going to actually turn. You turn the wheel, car's going to turn. Camera control arms, a freshly built engine, and need to dyno. Where would you recommend to tie down the straps on the dyno? 2011 GT500 heavily modified. Well, I'm going to say that wherever you go to dyno, they're going to have their preferred method of strapping down the car. And what we used to do when we have my shop and we have my dyno is I made it really simple because all of our cars are so low, you can't get underneath them, is we would take and put the front straps around a spoke or two spokes in the wheel and use that to pull the front forward. And then in the back, there was a couple out by the brackets on the axle for the lower control arms. We would actually use those and then cross the straps in the back to keep the car centered. But you get to a dyno place, and they're going to have their own preferred method of tying cars down. And I would stick with what they think because it's on them if it doesn't work. Okay, we're down to our last one, and this is a quandary question for me. This is Luke, and he says, "Hi, I have a 2005 Mustang GT with a Baer brake kit. Do you have a booster or master cylinder to get a better pedal feel?" Now that's kind of, it really caught my attention because we actually in the late 90s switched over to Baer brakes because of the great pedal feel. I'd be interested to know in which Baer brake package that you have. And a couple other questions would be is that typically they come with this steel braided lines like this, Teflon steel coated brake lines. And the reason for that is steel brake lines not going to expand. Now you have your factory rubber brake lines are great. They're always DOT certified. However, you start seeing 1,000 degree brake temperature, 1,200 degree brake temperature, everything's going to get hot, including the brake fluid. And that means that the rubber hoses are going to get hot. As they get hot, what happens when you heat up some rubber? It gets kind of mushy and spongy. And that would give you a kind of like a not crisp pedal feel, because instead of pushing the caliper first, it's going to expand the rubber, and that's going to be gushy. So that's why we use these. You put these on and boom, you got a really hard pedal. I'd also take a look at the 2005. Maybe you actually need a master cylinder. That's something instead of changing something else. First, check and see if your master cylinder's okay. I should back up and say first, make sure you bleed the brakes really, really well. I mean, you got to bleed them to get all that air out. It's really important. The teeniest bit of air will give you a soft pedal. So that's there's a couple of tips. Again, more questions, sign up for a 15-minute, and I'll talk through with it for you. So that, I think we're through the main part of today. And you notice that I talk about what you want to know about. So if you have questions or subjects you want me to talk about on Cars and Coffee, send them in through the Speed Therapy Society. And if you're not a member, please join the Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society private Facebook group. Got every single word in. There's a lot of great people there, great information to shared. So with that, I should say, for anybody who came in really late, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Cars and Coffee. And you guys are learning today. And I always try to teach you something that's going to be of real value. So we're up to questions. That's what we're up to, questions. Brad, have we got any questions out there?
Yes, we do. So let me start. Well, Dan Gramza was the first question, but I think we covered his. The next one is Andrew, who's viewing on YouTube. I'm interested in your magnet brake bleeder bottle. Can you teach me how to bleed brakes for a track day with only one person using the bottle?
Okay, yeah. What you need to do, if there's only one person, here's an idea. They do have bleeder valves that are check valves. You can screw it in. It's like it's a one-man bleed show. You put it in, you loosen it up, you pump the brakes, and the check valve will keep the thing from coming back out. I think that'd be one of the easiest ways. We can check into the check valve for you. That would be one thing. The other thing is that you just have to free pump it. And if you free pump it enough, you're going to use a little more brake fluid. But if you free pump it enough, then you're going to pretty much get the air out. It still would be handy at the very end to have somebody give you a hand, sit in the car and pump it up. But so there's two ways. One, you can get the one-way bleeder valves for the brakes, so the check valve, or you can just free pump it and then check and make sure everything is clear. So how about that? And of course, use good brake fluid.
And so we don't have a ton of questions today, but we have another one from Scott Newton, who's joining us on Facebook. And I'll show it on screen. His question is 99 to 04 IRS aluminum housing. What is the power limit before I would need to find an iron T-bird housing? And then he has a second question for a car that needs sees mostly street use, but does go to the drag strip on occasion. I'm looking at the Eaton Truetrac or the WaveTrac differential. Would one have noticeable differences to justify the price?
Okay, well, as far as how much power the IRS aluminum will take, I mean it depends. I know the drag racing guys like to blow them up all the time. We've got people that are running 650 horsepower on track. Okay, you're not getting the shock load you would with a drag racing application, but we've got guys running 600 horsepower with 31 spline and torsion, and they're doing pretty well. So what the upper limit is, I don't know. You might have to find somebody that's into drag racing, drag races the IRS cars, and they could give you an answer on that. Second half of the question, let's see. WaveTrac or TruTrac? The WaveTrac we've used in the live axle cars, and the reason for that, but we can't get them anymore. I think they're not making them for the live axle Mustangs anymore. The reason we use that is because it's a great difference. It's like a torsion, but it's kind of different because the carrier inside the differential, there's this kind of like this wavy thing, and it'll actually roll up on the instead of being solid, it kind of rolls up on these little bumps. And what we ran into with the 11 to 14s is when we put our suspension on the back and used all spherical bearing rod ends, because that gives you the absolute best articulation. What we found is that a standard torsion under D-cell would get totally confused. It wouldn't know what to do, and it would keep shifting the power back and forth, which kind of first started happening, kind of an unnerving feeling. I pulled in the pits, we checked everything, and did it again, and I figured out the torsion, trying to figure out. The newer ones don't do that as much, and the Wave-Trac doesn't do it at all, because as soon as you go into D-cell, rather than switch a torque, it'll roll up on one of those things. As far as on an IRS car, well, I think I don't know if the Wave-Trac is worth the money. It's a great differential, don't get me wrong. I had it in my car and I loved it. The only problem we had with the Wave-Trac is taking it out. They've got the C-clips, in fact, that it was such a tight fit that I could run big brake kit on an 8.8 without any other modification, because the Wave-Trac was so tight that we didn't get any knockback on the rear pads. But when you go to take it apart and service it, you just couldn't get those C-clips out. The tool they gave you to pull them out was ridiculous and didn't work. So I think that's why they stopped making them for the Mustangs. But it's a good one. The TruTrac is going to work every bit as good, and it's probably a little less money. So there we go.
Okay, so the next one is Dan Gramza. Do you carry speed bleeders for the S550 Mustang brakes? I have them on my 2011 through S197. Kenny, if I remember correctly, Russell brand makes the speed bleeders that we used previously. I think they're owned by Holly, and Holly is a vendor of ours, so we should be able to find those. Yeah,
we don't carry them right now. Certainly, why don't you send a note into Rich, info@kennybrown.com, in case I forget, and we'll look that up for you. Okay.
The next one is Kobe. Does the Baer brake fluid have a dye in it like ATE Super Blue? If not, how can you tell that you have all the old brake fluid out of the system?
Okay, no, this is actually kind of clear, and that's a really good question. After you've been on track and you bleed your brakes, when you start, you're going to notice that the fluid has a little bit of a darkish tone to it, and you just keep bleeding, and at some point it's going to go from a dark tone to clear. As soon as it goes to clear, then you've got all the fluid out. So it's just a matter of color. And having the clear, it looks kind of like a little dingy. It depends on how long it's been in there, how hot it got. But the way you can tell if it's all out is as soon as the color changes from discoloration to clear, then you're good to go. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm back. Always a tech issue. So we have everything resolved. Brad, I'll let you keep going, but it looks like if we have a couple more questions. It looks like, Brad, I'll let you continue so you know where you are. But if you have any more questions, this is last call for questions. So make sure you add your questions so Kenny can answer them. Kenny, have you talked about next week as far as what we're doing the next 2 weeks for the holiday?
Actually, no, I haven't.
Okay, well, why don't I talk about that? Unless you want to.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so for the next 2 weeks, since it's a holiday weekend, Kenny is not going to be live, but what he is doing is taking his top 10 tips of the year and going to be running them on both next Saturday, which is Christmas, and on Christmas Day, New Year's Day. So anyway, make sure you tune in for that. You won't want to miss out on that. It's top 10 tips of 2021. And if you have any, if you want to add right now, so if you have any ideas or what you think should be one of Kenny's top 10 tips. Add them to the comments area. We would appreciate your input. Kenny has his ideas already, but we'd like to hear what other people think he should be talking about. So add those in there. Let's see. Brad, do you have any other questions? I didn't mean to barge in, but Kenny, I thought you'd like to know I was back.
Well, glad to have you back. And glad you got the technical thing resolved.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Never, never, ever. So, okay. Brad, do you have any other questions? I can't hear you, Brad. You're muted.
We don't have any more questions. All the people who are viewing today are slacking off quite a bit. So, and Calvin just joined us, so he's another slacker.
We can say that about Calvin. He used to work for us. So,
yeah.
He wanted to know how the PRI show was.
We didn't go. I mean, it just Carrie's back. She's still, quasi bedridden. So, and I just didn't want to go by myself, and so we didn't go. We talked to some other people who went that said it was really nice, but I don't have any more information on it. Next year we'll go, hopefully.
We have a couple questions coming in here. So Brad, do you want to take them over, and I'll just sit back and interrupt you like I do?
Yep.
Okay.
So the next question is from Steve Bailey. I just put it up on the screen. Is the twitchy tram lining front steering on the S550 GT350 normal? And if so, if not, is there a remedy for that?
I'll to be honest, I haven't heard of that yet. That's a good question. We do have a couple of guys with GT350s that are not racing them, but doing a lot of track days. I'm not sure what the tram lining front steering means. Twitchy, I can understand. But tram line, I think without knowing exactly what you're talking about, I think what about alignment? Because not having the alignment quite right can make things kind of weird. You're going to want, if it's on track, you're going to want about two and a half degrees negative camber, maximum caster. And, you know what? One of the questions I was supposed to ask about the toe-in for on Robb. Bump steer, part 2, what the toe-in in degrees. Oh, sorry about that. I missed the other half of your question. And for the rear on a 99 Cobra, you're going to want to run around 1.2 negative camber and 1/16 toe in. On an alignment machine, that would be minus 0.25 to minus 0.3. So a 16th total toe in at the back, and then 1.2 negative camber. But getting back to the 550, if it's a track car, 2.5 negative camber, max caster, and a 16th toe out. Okay, toe in at the back, toe out at the front. That helps turn in. So that's what I check. And aside from that, I'm not really sure. I mean, you can sign up for a 15-minute. We can talk through it a little more. I don't think Joe, who does a lot of track days with his GT350, has mentioned that. So there's something going on, and give me a call. We'll try to figure out what it is and help you get past it. So, anybody else?
Okay, the next one is, let's go back. Cliff Glidden's got a good question, but I want to go back to that. Dan Gramza says tram lining is where the car pulls side to side when you're in a rut on the road. So that's different. That's sort of steering, not steering. That's alignment and caster, I think. So can you elaborate maybe?
Yeah.
Now?
Okay. What's happening if you got a lot of camber? You probably don't have enough caster. Number one. Secondly, I mean, I ran into that in one of our cars. We gave the magazines up in Detroit, and because I had really sticky tires on it, and the ruts up there are pretty big, and I had an aggressive alignment, it wanted to do that rut thing. But I mean, all you can do is just try to get the alignment right, and if you got adjustable shocks, make sure you got those adjusted right. And yeah, if you got sticky tires, it's not unusual because they're not slipping, they're just sticking. So yeah, the alignment, I'd go right to the alignment and see what you got. Zero toe in the front. Yeah, you don't want zero. You either want toe in or toe out. You get zero and the thing will wander. So we always run toe out in the front and toe in the back. Okay. You said Cliff had something.
Yeah, here's Brad. If you're talking, you're offline, so you need to add you to the stream. There you go, Brad. If you were talking, you need to repeat yourself.
Okay, yeah. So Dan made a comment that correct, my tramlining went away when I put Kenny's front end in, and of course that's adding a lot of caster. So, Ken.
Okay, you said the Cliff had something.
Yeah, so Cliff's got a really good question here about storing the race car. So we talked about this a few weeks ago when we went over winterizing. I don't think Cliff was there, so maybe you can go back over storing the car for the winter, because that's a really good subject.
Okay, I will. And I saw something from Joe that what do you say? Oh, he's running my alignment setup and it works great. Okay, here's storing a car. First of all, I would put it on jack stands. Just take the weight off of everything. And you need to store the tires, if it's race tires, in a heated garage or area. You never want to let race tires go under like freezing. What happens is the way they're designed, if you had a race tire and it was like 25 degrees and you tried to drive, the tire would shatter. So you always want to keep your race tires in a warm area for the winter. What I do is I always change the oil so there's fresh oil in there. If it's in a heated garage, then you don't have to worry about antifreeze. But the other thing I would do is I would have the gas tank full with some like gas preserver in there. And aside from that, I mean, it's you could start getting things ready for spring by changing some of your other fluids. But that's the most important thing, is up in the air, fresh oil filter. And believe it or not, when I do that, I'll run it for a little bit and then change oil again, just in case some stuff got in. Because what you want to do, you want to protect against moisture. Full gas tank is not going to have room to collect moisture, and fresh oil is not going to collect moisture. I've seen cars that have miles on them, and they've stored them like in the wintertime in cold spots. And you take the engine apart and you see like in the bearings, these like almost like a little worm was in there. And that's from the water, and the oil turns to acid and eats stuff up. So yeah, tires in a warm place, fresh oil filter. If it's not in a heated garage, put some coolant in. I mean, you don't have to fill the whole thing up with coolant. Just enough to make sure any water that's in there is protected. Full tank of gas with gas stabilizer, and then just sitting on a chair and wish it was spring. Okay.
And then Hristofor had a question. Can you hear me, Ken?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hristofor has a question. So fresh oil in the spring as well, after the car's stored.
Yeah, it's kind of like oil is one of those things you can't change your oil too often. So the answer would be yes. It's just like you can't bleed your brakes too much, and you can't change your oil too much.
And Dylan concurred with your statement about storing the car in cold weather, if it's not in a heated garage, to drain the water out and replace it with antifreeze, or if nothing else, I think put antifreeze in. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're being stored, drain all the water out, and then you don't have to fill the whole thing up with antifreeze, because all you want to do is you want to put enough antifreeze in there that any water that's left in there is mixed in with the antifreeze. mean, you could fill it all the way up if you want, but it wouldn't be really necessary. Okay, we have anybody else this morning?
We have no more questions this morning, so I'm relying on Carrie to jump in and help us out here.
Okay, so I am back on. So again, if this is last call for any questions you have for Kenny, I just thought I'd share a little personal note and see what you guys are doing. If you're celebrating Christmas, what are you guys doing? Are you hosting Christmas? Are you traveling? And if you're traveling, where are you going to? We have just had a change in plans with Christmas. We found out our little granddaughter has COVID, and we haven't been seeing her because of my back. But we saw her on Wednesday, so now we are quarantining as well. So we are spending Christmas alone again last year because of COVID, and now this year we'll probably be quarantining. So wish us all well, and like to know what you guys are doing. We love the Christmas holidays between Christmas and New Year's. It's always a great time of year. So are there any more questions?
I can tell you what we're doing for Christmas. I haven't told you this yet.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
I thought about it. And the other day, I was digging through the freezer, and I found kind of like a small little a roast from the beef tenderloin that we got and broke down a long time ago.
Cool.
So we may be having kind of like a mini Chateaubriand for Christmas Day.
Oh, that's great. That sounds yummy.
Along with Brussels sprouts and bacon. That's to die for.
So if you haven't guessed, Kenny is our cook in our family. That is his hobby, is cooking
and my job.
Cooking and gardening and things like that. I call him the male Martha Stewart. His cooking is incredible. So we always have a great meal, and he always does a great job of messing up the kitchen as well. It looks like we may have another question coming in, Kenny. Calvin says that he's having a quiet dinner with his mom and cat. Oh, that's sweet. That is sweet. Always spending time with family is great. Looks like, there are some more questions, comments coming in that they're just a little late. Okay.
I see something from Brian.
Yeah, from Brian, and we'll go over that.
How well do your 96 to 04K members do on a streetcar? Also, I noticed that you use square steel versus round tubing compared to others I've seen. Is there any reason you went to square? Yeah, I like square tubing for like K members. Control arms are round tubing, but I feel that we can get more strength out of straight steel. And some of the others that use tubing, you notice the tubing's bent. Bent tubing is if you got tubing in it, a bend in it, that bend spot can be a weak spot under load. So we went with square tubing, everything's straight, everything's triangulated, and it works great. And what was the other part of the question on a streetcar? Well, here's the thing: is all my suspension pieces, no matter what I have, is designed for the street, but it's totally competent on track. Okay, we use for the K, we use urethane bushings in the front. We don't use Delrin. That's for a number of different reasons. That's a different conversation. But I mean, that's most of our people that run the front K member run it on the street. And of course, you do have to convert to coilover because we eliminate the spring on control arm and go to a straight coilover. What you guys know that all I ever put on cars is coilovers. And we actually have a tremendous coilover package for the SN95s, which actually can work on the Fox. So, I mean, it's everybody's got a different way of engineering things. It's just like the forward brace on the Cobra is round tubing and it's curved. Well, that's square tubing and it's straight and solid as a rock. So it's just a matter of preference. I've been engineering and building race cars since the 70s, and I've over the years I've developed what I feel are the best techniques and methods. In fact, the guys that are in the academy, Speed Therapy Academy, we went through the whole thing on chassis design, from formula cars to race cars to carbon fiber, And it's a matter of preference. I mean, I personally, I think the square has a more robust look to it. That K member is not something I want to use round tubing on. So I hope that answers your question.
So, and also you forgot to add, Kenny, to that is one of your philosophies is if you need to take whatever manufacturers or suppliers philosophy and stick with that, not mix and match parts.
That's something we talk about in the workshops and in the academy. That, you know, the best thing is find one of the manufacturers / suppliers, and you know, find a philosophy you like, okay, and if find a philosophy you like, stick with it. The reason is the worst calls I get from people is, you know, my car doesn't handle right, and we start going down the list of parts, and they got springs here, they got shocks there, they have control arms here, they got, you know, like 5 different manufacturers. When you do that, you're actually doing your own R&D program to see what happens when you put this combination together. And it's almost impossible for me to really help people. I can talk theory, but that's about it, because I mean, I've never done that. And I've never done that combination, so I don't know the actual results. Now, everything that I do, I mean, I know what the results are. In fact, in our parts program, the only parts we have, we don't have parts like from 10 different people. They're all my parts, and they come directly from the car program. What I use to build the cars is what's in our in our parts program. That way, we can give some of the best technical support in the industry. You call in, is doing this, is doing that. You know, I know it's in the car. I can give you some good direction. So if it's my philosophy, stick with it. If it's somebody else you like better, stick with them. Just do everything with them, because if you have a problem, then you have somebody to call and get it worked out. So.
Okay, so first of all, before I forget, I want to thank Brad for filling in. We have a really strong team, and we typically have 2 people on every show. So Brad, thank you for filling in for me. I know you always do a great job. Here's some interesting things, Kenny. Is there another question there, Brad? I saw you throw something up that I missed. Here's Brian's. He says, on coilers, do you find the rear shock towers on 9904 Cobras break or tear from the force? Do you have a solution for this?
Yes and yes. We haven't actually seen that, although in the last academy, I think Ben showed some pictures he found on the internet of the shock towers just breaking away. We actually, when we started doing coilovers back in 2000, I believe, we created a rear shock tower brace that goes between the 2 shock towers, has a triangulation, it bolts in the middle. So we reinforce the shock tower braces, and it's a really popular product. I mean, it looks good, it works good, and it's easy to install. So yeah, they will do that, and that's why we went to the rear shock. Every car we do, SN95 with IRS has a rear shock tower brace on it.
Okay, here's what people are doing for the holidays, Ken. I want to share some of that with you because I think that's pretty cool. A lot of these are people that have been on here almost every week of your show. We have a lot of really solid people. So Dan Gramza says he's having the annual SCCA Milwaukee Region's Christmas party at his house this Sunday. Go Packers! Now, I'm a Vikings fan. Yeah, I'm a Vikings fan, Dan, so I don't know if I'm going to say go Packers, but I don't think they're playing the Vikings, so I will say go Packers. The other thing, Dan, why don't you say hi to everybody from Kenny and myself? That's really cool that you're having everybody over. Wish we could join you. Here's Kobe Ward making a brisket on the smoker for the family. Food is love.
I'm with you there. Hey, I got kind of a cooking thing. Something I do in the winter is I make some of the most amazing soups you've ever tasted. And if you guys like, I can put some little videos together on how to make soups to die for. That's a good line. Soups to die for. And Carrie can attest to that. I mean,
oh my gosh!
You talk about Flavor Town on steroids.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and he's sounds like he's bragging, but his soup is really good. I mean, I've never tasted anything better. Okay, the next comment
And yeah, if you want, I can do a little video and show you guys how to make killer soups.
So anyway, Kobe, that sounds wonderful, and food is love. We see that all the time because that's what Kenny puts into his food. Dale Chandler, what time is dinner? He's asking you, Kenny. Joe Johnson, he's going down to Houston this afternoon to see President Trump and Bill O'Reilly.
Go, Joe.
That sounds great. Also, Cliff Glidden, oh my gosh, Cliff, we need to join you for this. Filet mignon on a Traeger grill, a little champagne, champagne spinach salad with cranberries, chopped nuts, and orange squares. Come on over. So,
I'm allergic to cranberries. Hey, Cliff. I can't eat at Cliff's house.
Hey, Cliff, I have got an awesome recipe for cranberries. It's my cranberries been rogue.
We should just have a cooking.
I'll just tell you what it is. You put the cranberries in the pot, and then I'll put like a regular bag of cranberries. Then I'll put like a cup and a half of sugar, and then a cup of good red wine, and then I'll go through and make a whole bunch of like zest strips off of an orange and stick that in there, and just let it cook until it's as thick as you want. You got to taste it periodically because every batch of cranberries is different to adjust the sugar. But it cooked in about 3 hours. It'll blow your mind. And I use just about half of an orange. I use like the thing for cocktails for making strips off a lemon. I just do it off the orange. But just real simple: cranberries, red wine, sugar, and orange strips. And it'll blow you away.
Maybe we should be calling this Cooking with Kenny. If you get Kenny talking cooking, obviously you see what happens. I just want to bring up another note that next 2 weeks, Kenny's picking his top 10. Actually, ours has most of them. Top 10 tips of 2021. So make sure you stay tuned on Christmas Day and New Year's Day to listen to that. He will not be live, but it will be pre-recorded. And make sure you listen to that. It should be pretty good. And we wish you all a great holiday. But here's a couple more comments after Cliff's. Let's see. Joe Johnson. Hristofor says, Joe Johnson, make sure to send my regards to Trump. That's pretty cool, Hristofor. And then Brian Gott, we already went through that. This is just a link here. Dave Robinson, I will be working on our home renovations, but we're heading to the in-laws for Christmas Eve and day. Wishing all the KB gang a very Merry Christmas and happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Oh, that is so sweet, Dave. And you are on here. Dave is from Niagara, in the Niagara Falls on the Canada side. He's with us every week. Dave, I don't think you've missed one, have you? Might want to comment on that. Rory, soups with Kenny Brown. Rory.
Yeah, I can tell you the two that people think are the best is my Italian sausage soup, and then also I do white bean chicken chili, and I do something I call a Southwest chicken stew, and they're good.
Now again, I wasn't listening to Kenny. Did you mention your Italian sausage soup?
Yeah, I mentioned that first.
Okay, cool.
Maybe that next batch of Italian sausage soup will make a little video.
Okay.
Because it's so good. We used to give it away to the relatives for Christmas, and they were just waiting. That one of the things they look forward to is getting some Italian sausage soup.
Actually, this is the only year we haven't done it. It's because of my back. We do that annually, along with your cranberries.
Yeah, we send up my cranberries and Italian sausage soup.
And I make some
family favorite.
And some toffee, my toffee.
Oh, yeah, Carrie's toffee. My God.
Okay, here we go. Dylan says, I'd love some new recipes for soup. Would definitely nice for sick family members rather than stuck to chicken noodle. Brad, I'm switching out for them chop dates. So, Brad, you're still invited. You're still invited to Cliff's. Kenny Brown's holiday cookbook. This is fun. Kenny, that sounds awesome. I'll try it. Hunger now. We could bench race over a gallon of that. And Kobe says, I'll be dumping in a mock-up IRS into a Capri. Oh, that's what you're going to be doing over the Christmas holiday. That sounds like a productive project. So anyway, I think that's all we have today, Kenny. So I feel bad we're not going to be on the next couple of weeks, but the top 10 tips of 2021 should be quite good. You'll enjoy that. So make sure you tune in for that. And also, if you want a 15-minute, I'll keep talking while Kenny coughs. If you want to schedule a 15-minute consult with Kenny, we will be in the office at least part-time through the holidays. So you can schedule a time and Kenny will give you a call if you have any questions on that. And then Dave Robinson, this is cool. I have missed maybe 3 weeks since the start. Last was one that only happened because I let the missus make the car service appointment. That's good. So
yeah, and you got to go with that. I know you're forgiven.
I wonder if that's a hint, Dave, that she doesn't want you watching the show every Saturday at 10 o'clock. Or 10 o'clock Eastern time. So anyway, we're having a lot of fun here. Let's see. Colby Ward says, happy holidays to everyone. See you next year. Oh, yes, it is. It's so sad. It's already 2021 has passed. I'm happy because I've been down with back injuries most of the year. So I'm hoping for a great 2022. Kenny, I'm talking most of the time. So let's turn it back to the Kenny Brown show.
Rory, what's he saying?
He's having jambalaya.
Oh, jambalaya.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like that. It's something that it depends on what the ingredients are. Carrie gets migraines, and sometimes the jambalaya has a lot of nitrates and other things like that. She can't eat. I like it, but sometimes Carrie can't eat that. But it's that sounds good too.
Sounds really good. Okay, Kenny.
Okay, well, I guess there's nothing else. We'll wrap up for today. And why don't I just try to make do some soup stuff over the holidays, and we can put that on one of the channels or something.
Kenny, you have to realize I still have back issues. I may not be. I'm the one behind the scenes. I may not be able to help you with that. So, but we'll try to get it out there.
Sometime while it's still winter, we'll do some soups.
That sounds really good. Okay, anybody have anything else? This is your last chance. Otherwise, we're going to say so long and
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And then everybody stay happy and healthy over the holidays. And I can't believe it's going to be 2022 shortly. I mean, I just don't know where this year went, and it just kind of like disappeared on me. So anyway, have a Merry Christmas. We will see you next year. That's kind of weird saying that. And I'll try to at some point put some soup videos together. And if you can just absolutely amaze your significant other and friends with these soups. So have a good holiday, and we will see you next year. Goodbye for now.